I'm working on a story about the big, beautiful bill. And today I've been focusing on the defense spending part. There's about $150 billion that will be allocated to military type spending. Now, 9 billion of it, if that is the right number, 9 billion of it is actually going to go to quality of life improvements for soldiers, but the majority of it goes to improving or building weapon system. And I know this is normal and I'm not dogging it. So that's not my point here. My point here is that it's very interesting going through this. I don't remember the last time I've gone through one of these bills in this kind of detail. And I don't remember being so fascinated with the things that we spend money on. Again, I'm not sure I'm opposed to it. I know that there are a lot of people out there who, when they hear things like that, they always say they cite how we spend more money on military on defense than I don't know, like the next three countries combined and whatnot. I'm not sure exactly what the exact metric is, but we know that we spend a lot. Now China's been spending a lot too on it, and so the narrative right now is, and I think it's kind of legitimate, and that is that China sees is trying to take over primacy at some point, is getting ready for war with America. I don't think this is just propaganda. I have a friend, a colleague who lived in China for a long time, and he lived there for 5 years, and he says that is indeed the narrative that the Chinese leadership is feeding its people, and it is um, the narrative and the sentiment among many people over there, including common citizens, is that they believe that inevitably there will be a war with America. And going through this bill, it looks like America's saying we're getting ready, man. I want to go through some of the spending on it. I think it's pretty interesting. Like I said, there's $150 billion of this massive bill, and depending on who you ask, how expensive it is, that's kind of up for grabs and whatnot. But there's a buttload of money that's going through defense spending. Now, before I continue, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, if you don't subscribe, to go ahead and please subscribe to this channel. And if you really like it, you can even upgrade to a paid subscription. I started this channel not too long ago, so I'm trying to build it. I'm trying to build off the work that I do. I do a great deal of work for the New American Magazine. That's primarily where I write. And so I try to create these videos that kind of piggyback on what I'm working on. And so I took a quick break. This is me procrastinating to kind of make a, well, kind of, I guess, fully make a video about this bill. So going back to it, I want to go through some of the highlights. Again, it's a big section, a big bill. So $34 billion is going to be spent on building or restoring ships, and that includes big like water destroyers. There's $2.3 billion that's also dedicated to small and medium unmanned surface vehicles. Now, there's a lot of unmanned technology that it seems like the military is implementing, or I'm sure um, they've already begun doing that clearly. Now, another 250 million is being allocated for wave-powered unmanned water underwater vehicles, and these things apparently harness energy from ocean waves to create propulsion. So that's kind of cool. There's a lot of cool stuff out there, by the way. There's also 250. How much is this? There's a 250 million includes the development and testing of directed energy capabilities. Now, that can include lasers. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it can include lasers. It can also include microwaves and particle beams and whatnot. So they're spending, I mean, 250 million, comparatively speaking, doesn't seem like a lot. But going back to these to the ships, to the unmanned ships, there's also $188 million that we're going to spend on building robotic autonomous technology. And yes, that includes underwater robots, from what I gathered. So a lot of cool stuff out there, I guess, if you consider. I mean, it depends how you look at it. It just seems like the art of war or the business of war is like really on another level. And again, I'm not sure where I stand on this. I don't think I stand anywhere other than I don't have necessarily a strong opinion of whether we should spend this money or not, to be quite frank. I don't like intervention. I don't like meddling in other people's in other countries and whatnot. I'm of the persuasion that I think we should stay that being we, America, we should actually stay in our hemisphere. I think today that would be considered kind of like an isolationist point of view, but I think it's a constitutional point of view. I know for a fact that it is a point of view that was advocated and prescribed by the founding generations, including George Washington himself. Nevertheless, um, we are where we are, and I do think that there are legitimate threats. So let me go back to what else is in this bill. Now, there's $25 billion to jumpstart Trump's Golden Dome missile system. And I don't know if we want to call it Trump's because it's America's Golden Dome missile system. And ultimately, he said over the next few years, he actually wants to spend 175 billion. But anyway, there's 25 billion in this thing to jumpstart it. And it's going to include $500 million for space launch infrastructure, $5.6 billion for space intercept capabilities, and more than $7 billion for sensors. And that's also the section where you have the direct energy, the laser spending. Now, another $8.6 billion is going to be spent on bolstering and improving the lethality of America's nuclear capabilities. And it's going to include a 4.5, almost half of that billion, 4.5 billion, almost half of that budget is going to be spent on building a new long range stealth bomber capable of delivering nuclear weapons, and that is the B-21. Another 1.5 billion will be used to upgrade America's aging ballistic missile program. And of course, there is hundreds of millions, which is kind of way overshadowed by what I talked about. That is going to be spent on missiles, torpedoes, mines, small ammunitions, explosives, and even automated munitions production factories. So it sounds like we're going to have factories with weapons being built with no humans there. They're just going to be rolling 24/7. So that's pretty interesting. I think this whole thing is pretty interesting. I'm going to keep looking over the bill. I'm going to keep seeing what else is in there. But I kind of wanted to take a quick break and talk about this portion of it. I don't know whether to be worried. It certainly looks like this is a country that is preparing for war. Maybe I'm misreading that. I'm hoping that I am, and I'm hoping that what we're talking about is just, that whole peace through strength deal. And I think there's a lot of legitimacy to it. That's actually my point. That's my basis for isolationism is that because a lot of people say, well, if we're not involved in anything and everything, and if we're not all over the place, then they're just going to come over here and harm us. It's like, not if you're tough, not if you're strong enough. They don't want to mess, you don't want to poke the bear. So I don't think I just don't buy that argument. I buy the argument. I'm of the persuasion that if we are so formidable, so tough, uh, so scary to everyone else, no one's going to want to mess with us. And I think that's better. I think that's better than what we have going on right now, which is that we're spread all over the world. We're trying to be everyone's policeman, I guess. Most of the people don't want us there. I mean, that's the truth. Anyone who's ever traveled abroad or spoken to people who've traveled abroad, they'll tell you Americans aren't welcome necessarily. They don't want us to sit there and patrol. We surely haven't done them any favors in the Middle East and whatnot. I don't even think we've done the Europeans any favors because they become a bunch of wusses out there, a bunch of candy asses. They don't know how to protect themselves anymore, and now they're having to do it. And I'm glad that's the case. But I mean, they're so scared that the Russians are going to come over and take over the rest of the continent. And there's so many more people in the rest of the continent. Europe has so many more people, and they have together they have their economy is so much bigger. And they acted so crazy when Trump said that we're going to pull back on our support on this continent. And the reason they're doing that is they want to switch their focus to the Asian theater, that being mainly China. But going back to my point is I don't I don't think that we should be everywhere. I think we should try pulling back. I actually think we should pull back completely. Maybe over time, maybe not so suddenly, and then just focus at home, and then do have a we should have a good military. We should have a strong military that's ready in case anyone dares cross us, especially obviously at home. So I'm gonna get back to my work. Thank you for watching. And again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my Substack here. Share this with others, and um, and I'll see you next time.